This is going to be like a sort of tutorial on how to model something kind of specific. I got a question from a classroom student about how to model like a wicker woven fence. If you don't know what that is, it looks something like this. See how it's got a bunch of vertical sort of stakes and some wicker lengths of wicker woven between it. Um, the most important thing you got to do straight up is some research. So like look at your pictures and all that stuff. Like get your Googles happening. I mean, there's a few different versions of this. I'm gonna just do the basic deal, and you can sort of infer where you could go with it from there. This is good for like a medieval sort of fence work, I suppose. I think that's the intended purpose for this particular classroom student, something along those lines. There's a lot of ways you could do this, but I'm going to start it this way. I'm going to make a length of fence, okay? I'm going to treat it as like a modular kind of thing. I've got four vertical things, right? This is just a plane. I'm going to use this as sort of the guide for how it's going to go together. I want to know what these dimensions are. I'll say 640 by 128. They're the closest square numbers. That's not enough vertical posts for my liking, so I'm going to increase that a little bit until I get, let's say, 12? Yeah, 12 is cool. Okay, convert it to poly. We know that it's 640 long. I'm going to grab all these vertical elements and I'm going to go right click and create shape, which you should know from the spline video will create splines out of any edge selection. Depending on what you've been doing recently, you might not have these exact settings that I've got. You want these on. Enable in viewport, enable in renderer, because that will actually give them thickness, make them physical. Okay, so you want generate mapping chords on as well, because then you don't have to UV these things. I might give them a tiny bit more thickness as well, just a little bit more chunky than that. And I'm okay with that, so as long as we got this on, we don't have to UV any of these things, I can just convert that to poly. I'm just going to do a quick auto smooth on those guys to get them round. Okay, so that's kind of cool. We got like a length of posts, which is sort of like what we want, right? We got a bunch of those. Then we're going to go unhide. Well, that's an old thing from the tutorial version I did before, as the testy. I'm going to grab this top row from this plane. Remember not to get rid of this plane, because that's kind of what we're basing all this on. And I'm going to drag that down, and what I'm going to do is in the top view, I'm going to grab every second row of these verts, okay? And then I'm going to, because it's an even number, it's going to work. I'm going to pull them down so that this is obviously the top view of the vertical post, right? I'm going to pull them down so that they're past it. So this line is going to represent the weave of this wicker, and I'm going to grab the other half of these, which is I can get them from side view now because they're offset. Oh, I got too much there. Grab that, and because they're in the center still. Then I'm going to go into the top view again and push them over that side a bit. That's all cool. I'm happy with that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turbo smooth this, okay? Oh, I've got to turbo smooth that. And after turbo smoothing, I actually need to grab all of these and push. I can scale them out a bit, and that will push them apart. So it's going around the edges of these things. Okay, so I've made like a screen sort of thing of plane going through there. Okay, so I'm gonna just collapse that, and then I'm gonna grab one of these. I'll turn on the edges. You can see I got like a line going through here. Any of these will do. You can grab the top, the middle, or the bottom. I grab the middle just so it's easier to see. Create shape on that one. Linear. You probably want linear on that. And now what it's done is it's created a one stick weaving between these guys. Okay. I'm going to set that down to 6 just to save some tries, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit on that so it looks like a thinner piece than the vertical rods. And as you can see, because we turbo smooth it, we've got a little bit of extra res in there. not quite enough in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just these parts that are, I'm going to ignore that, by the way. You'll see why in a second. I'm going to ignore the end ones. So I'm going to grab the ones that are on the post, all the verts in this spline, okay? And annoyingly, it doesn't really give me any feedback to having selected them, but we can live with that. We can deal. We're all professionals here. And then I'm going to fillet, okay? So what the fillet does is you can add some more divisions just in that little spot, right? And then what we can do is we can scroll up to the optimize on the interpolate part, and we can scroll this down. We can, oh, okay, we can dial it back to maybe just two steps. I mean, we could make it 72 if we wanted, but I'm just going to stick with 2 for now. There's a smoothing thing up here somewhere, I'm pretty sure as well. Auto smooth. We'll set this to like 45, maybe 50. Oh, come on, 60. Yeah, that's what we need for a 6-sided thing. I'm going to go 65 just to make sure we get it all. Okay, so as long as we remember we've got this generate mapping chords on, that's our one stick of woven stuff. Okay, so that's kind of cool. We can use that, convert that to editable poly, and now we go back again, and we can see that it actually alternates. The next row is behind. It's sort of woven the other way around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this up the top here to start the sort of weave. I'm going to go to array. Now remember, array can just repeatedly apply a transform to something in multiple instances. Okay, so I'm going to say we just want to start with 2 and just see how far apart we want to be and in which direction. We want to get rid of that stuff. Turn on the preview and then play with these. Okay, that's obviously not moving it in the right axis, so we don't want to use that. That one is. Okay, so let's say we want them about that far apart. I'm cool with that. Everyone's cool with that. Okay, so let's say we just up the count, make a bunch of them. Okay, so they're all evenly spaced, which is kind of neat. Now we might be able to, in here, that's not the way we want to rotate, nor is that. We can probably rotate these, if we go 180, oh no, that's total, sorry, that's stupid of me. We want to go to incremental, 180 here, and that's going to actually reverse it. It's going to rotate it all the way around each time it copies one, so all the way around 180 degrees. So these are woven in the opposite direction now. From there, I'm not totally sure that's exactly how I want it to look, so I'm going to mess around with this a little bit still. Maybe scale it down a bit, ramp it back, increase a few more of those guys. So you can just pick how you actually want the lattice to look there. So I can go okay on that. Yeah, that's fine, whatever. You don't have to attach all these, but I'm going to do it for the sake of just being able to get this over with. Basically, just continue on with what we're going to do. Looking at this now, I'd probably make these little central posts a little bit thinner. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick all the edges in these posts running vertically, okay? Because I want to add a little bit of geometry to them so that we can add a bit of jankiness. I'm going to go connect, and I'm going to give them all about 6 segments, let's say. This is already hitting quite pretty high poly, right? There are cases, get away from me, you goddamn rollout. There are cases where you would actually use this in the just as it is in engine. Like, it wouldn't make a huge deal, but you could also use this just as a high poly to bake down as well. Now, as you can see, this part is not looking too hot because it just sort of ends there. You can either, there's a few things you can do there. You could just push this in so that it's going past it at least. Do the same on this end. I'm going to leave that like that for now, but the other thing you could do is you could delete everything up to, say, one of these rings of edges here. I'll turn those on. One of these edge loops, and then do the same over on the other end, and then they'd be able to line up exactly and sort of connect. You'd be able to make like a modular thing. In most cases, it's not going to really matter that much. You can just make one of these and copy it across, and it's there's two posts there which people who have OCD are going to be upset by, but most of the time it's not a big deal. Another thing you can do if you want it to look a little bit less perfect is chuck a noise modifier on it, and because we've got enough geometry there. See, we added a few divisions to these posts and all that kind of stuff. We can add some noise onto it, which is kind of neat. See, the wobbles in this noise modifier are quite big. That's the scale. I'm going to turn the scale down a lot. Woo, it's making it a complete mess. So and this is the amplitudes in each different direction of how offset it can be. So it's kind of neat. You can just scale this up in each direction. It's like it just applies random movement in every axis. Okay, so we got some noise on it. You can either leave that as a modifier or collapse it down. And even though these are really wonky, and the other thing about the noise is sometimes it causes things to clip through, but you can play with that until it looks right to you. Leave it about there. Maybe this guy should be a little bit less crazy. Just a little bit of unevenness is fine. And because they're already UV'd, it doesn't matter that we've made them wonky. And then of course, like in the previous tutorial, you can make a spline, and then you can do this bizzo. Get your path deform, apply it to that guy. Oh, he's going in the wrong way. We want to rotate him 90 degrees. No, that's the other way. There we go. Pick the right axis and you're all good. 270 then, I guess. Flip it around. You need to rotate things and play with the orientation, of course. And you can align that to a spline and it's all going to look okay. If you need to curve the fence for whatever reason. Hopefully that's enough to get you started on if you wanted to make something like that. I used a few techniques like the convert to edge selection into a spline and some path deform and stuff. It's a pretty specific tutorial, but it's just an example of applying all these ideas to an actual prop that you can use in a game. So, hope that helped. Later, everyone.